Okay, everybody, hello. This is Flea Market Fantasy number 21, the podcast that reviews different Bronze Age comics every week. This is your co-host, Mike-DELL, and as always, I'm joined by...
Mike-DELL of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That's right, and once again, Mike-DELL actually has friends that read comics. I don't. So Mike-DELL has brought another guest on our show. Mike-DELL, tell us who our guest is this week.
Yes, this man will be familiar to longtime listeners of the LCS Hockey Radio Show. He is an author, a three-time winner of the Best Indie Book Award for his novels Cage Life, Knuckle Down, and Sinner's Cross. He is my best writing chum. Ladies and gentlemen, Miles Watson.
My God, after an introduction like that, I don't know what to do.
Yes.
I don't know what to do.
Miles Watson. Now, Miles, I have known you for... I was just checking the calendar. It's been like, I think I met you for the first time in 2009, which is hard to believe.
Hill, right?
Yeah, we were both in the same MFA writing program. Miles was on his way out when I was coming in, but we've been chums ever since. But Miles, we've never talked comic books at all.
No, we haven't. Probably because of the tyranny of the LCS hockey show. There's so many forbidden topics due to your irate co-host.
Yes. Yeah, Larry won't let us talk UFC really, or some other things.
Once we had, and I don't want to digress, but once we did have a long, involved, and to me, incredibly interesting UFC conversation, and he literally fell asleep.
Yes.
And was out the rest of the broadcast.
Larry has fallen asleep. Larry has fallen asleep twice during our shows, and once was when Miles and I were talking UFC.
Well, I'm used to people falling asleep when I talk, but that just kind of hurt my feelings. I'm actually, this is a subject I actually know something about, and people are still fucking falling asleep on it. All right.
Now, I think...
We're done with that.
Now, Miles, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think maybe once you mentioned to me years ago that you used to read like Captain America novels or novelizations or something of Captain America, or what is?
I have one. As a matter of fact, I have one here on my bookshelf. It's the only one I ever read. It's by a guy named Joe Silva. Probably that's a pen name. It was called Holocaust for Hire, and it's about Captain America finding the Red Skull. And there it is. Holocaust for Hire. Stanley presents Captain America in a novel by Joseph Silva. Holocaust for Hire, and my brother bought it, and as a kid, a little kid, my brother's 4 years older than me, and he collected comics, and he also had some books like this. And I picked it up, and even as a kid, I was like, this has got to suck. Like, I was like, how good could, come on, it's like the novel, it's Captain America. I mean, even as a kid, I grasped that some mediums just don't translate, from one... thing from one medium to another. Some art forms don't translate. So I picked it up, and it ended up being incredibly well written. I mean, it's written in a pulp style, but it's an incredibly well written little novel. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I mean, to this day, I still have a copy of it because I'm just so impressed that somebody was able to take something that is inherently sort of absurd as a man wearing red, white, and blue chainmail with a shield, running around fighting evil. It seems so ridiculous, but somehow they made it work.
Mike-DELL,
that's the essence of a good comic.
Mike-DELL, are you familiar with such novels?
Not with this one in particular, but I'm definitely familiar with, Marvel published a bunch of novels. I believe it was mostly in the 70s, and they all had these nice painted covers. Like I've seen some Avengers ones and maybe some others. Mostly I've just seen their covers. I think I might own one of them, but I've never read it.
I'll look into this.
But as we were talking, I just Googled Ron Goulart. He's the author of this Captain America novel, and he went on to much bigger things, apparently. He ended up writing Tech War for William Shatner.
Wow.
So, yeah. But also he's done a history of pulp magazines, so I guess that's his thing. Like you mentioned, it was kind of like a pulp magazine, right? So...
Yeah, it's done in that kind of hard-boiled but G-rated, style. Sure. Obviously, because for kids, they didn't have anything in there that was going to freak the kids out. But it's written in that kind of breathless style. But also, the guy he wrote really good prose description. I mean, I can think of a shit ton of novels on the shelves right now that aren't written half as good.
Really?
As that happens. Oh yeah, I mean, E.L. James and those,
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there sitting on a lot of cash who can't write their way out of a paper bag in comparison with a guy like that, which is kind of sad, but that's the way the game is played.
Now, Mike, or Miles, aside from this Captain America novel, when you were a child, what other comic books did you and your brother have?
My brother had a very extensive collection, which still, I'm very happy to say, still exists. There's a little funny story about that, but like, basically, let's see what I brought up out of the vault.
Oh, you actually have a bunch of comics right there with you.
I have some because I've been slowly transferring the hoard that exists at my mom's house to here where I can safe keep it. There's Marvel's Greatest Comics, Fantastic Four, Sergeant Rock, G.I. Joe. These are the ones that I was more interested in as a kid. A lot of Fantastic Four. I was a big Thing fan.
You know who loves the G.I. Joe is Mike-DELL. Mike-EL loves G.I. Joe comic books.
Yeah, huge fan. I've got every issue. Yep.
Well, I have the ones that I bought. I missed the debut.
Okay.
But I bought number 2 on the stand, and I still have it. And I have them up to about, I want to say the 20s.
Okay.
You know, because I was pretty militantly buying them. Sergeant Rock, and then the Marvel 2-in-1. So I was a big fan of those.
Yeah, those are good.
I had a ton of Sergeant Rocks, GI Combat, all these, but also my brother is the guy who did most of the buying early on because he's 4 years older than me. So he bought stuff like Avengers. He bought the individual characters of the Avengers. My brother was also a big Green Lantern fan, Batman fan, Superman fan, Justice League, all that stuff. But I would say that Marvel was fairly dominant nonetheless. Like Thor, I was a big fan of Thor. Hulk. Corey, my brother, was, I think, the he was the Hulk fan, and I was like, oh man, fuck the Hulk. It was all about Thor. And also like the Thing.
I never got into Thor as a kid. I don't know.
I just think I was attracted to the fact that like the Hulk sort of irritated me sometimes because he was always just rampaging and like, that's it. You know, it was like it's another issue, another destructive rampage. He's going to annihilate everything. And he was stronger than everybody. So it was nice from my point of view. I liked that Thor was basically as strong as him. Yeah. I was kind of looking for somebody to come along and be as strong as the Hulk or very nearly or something like that. And Thor sort of fit that bill. So I was a Thor fan. But actually, the Thing was probably my favorite character of all Marvel characters.
Well, what did you? Just this, I was going to say, what did you like about the Thing?
He was grumpy. He was always fighting with Johnny Storm. He drank tons of beer, smoked those giant cigars.
That's true. Yeah, the cigars.
And his language was always like as bad as they could make language in a comic book. You know, he was just like, he mangled the English language when he talked. And because you had characters like Dr. Doom and Reed Richards and stuff who were very, you know, they used 50-cent words all the time. And then you had the Thing who was drinking like his tankard of beer and chewing a cigar and going, shut up. You know, he's like this grumpy old bastard. He was funny. I liked him.
Well, Miles, when I gave you the option of picking a comic book that was important to you that you'd like to discuss here on the show, you didn't pick the Thing. You didn't pick Thor. Much to my chagrin, you picked Batman Special Number 1 from 1984. What made you select this issue?
I love that storyline for a couple reasons. I loved the idea. I mean, maybe I should explain the story, or
yeah, real quick. We'll break it down in detail in a minute. But yeah, if you want to just give me over.
Basically, just the idea of the story is the opposite number. That Batman runs into a guy who's the exact same thing as he is, but he's just evil.
Yeah.
As a kid, I really liked that. I liked the artwork. I was very, and still am, very particular. Well, I am very peculiar, but very particular about the way comics are drawn. I always was. Even as a kid, there were some great stories that kind of got ruined, in my opinion. because they picked like, you know, an artist who had a style that I thought was kind of crappy or, you know, just not evocative. And even as a kid, I appreciated the artwork of this quite a bit. So the aesthetics of it I liked, but I just really liked the story. It was a self-contained kind of tragic story. And I liked seeing the Batman go up against someone that was not afraid of him and that was equally skilled, who didn't have superpowers. It was just another guy like him. So
yeah,
that
now
fascinated.
Your selection of this issue made Mike-El very happy, right, Mike-El?
Well, yeah, it was actually on my list of one of the upcoming ones I was going to pick, and the reason is because Michael Golden is one of my favorite artists, always has been, and I first came across his work actually on G.I. Joe. He did a few of those covers. I don't know if you got that far, but he did number 23. You remember the one where Cobra Commander is getting arrested by Clutch and Roadblock? You ever see that one?
Let me see. I actually have. I think my stack here only goes up to about 18. Let's see, 17, 18. Yeah, so I don't have that in front of me.
That's too bad. What?
Yeah, it's a very famous G.I. Joe cover.
Yeah, so he's definitely one of my favorite artists, and so I've made it a point to try and collect everything he's ever done. And thankfully for my wallet, he's only done a handful of
Yeah.
regular issues. He's mostly those covers now, so it's kind of easy to get all the stuff.
Yeah. Now, Miles, when you said you liked the art here, did you know it's like Michael Golden? Like, did you keep track of artists? Do you know who draws what, or you just like the art? You know,
Not anymore. As a kid, I did. I did know artists. I even knew the names of the writers of the stories because pre-internet, we had this sort of thing where called having to wait for shit. And having to wait for shit was agonizing when you're a kid, you know, because first of all, you're a kid and it's just horrible to have to wait for stuff. But I would go into
Miles is in another room.
Yeah, Miles, we're losing you, bud.
Oh, hold on one second.
Yeah.
We're having a windstorm here in LA. Sorry about that.
All right.
And
there you
every
go.
time I open the door, it's like I can't hear anything. But anyway, we had to wait for stuff, and I had to go to what was it? It was like a CVS, basically. It was People's Drug, I think. This is in the 80s. It was about 3/4 of a mile from our house, and I would go look at the racks of comics.
Yeah.
And I would go, sometimes a couple days in a row and be enraged that the next month's comic wasn't there. And it was very hard for me to figure out that I had to wait a month for each new issue.
Yes.
That was really brutal, especially on those days when you'd go in and buy the whole rack out and be like, dude, I've got like 8 comics. And then you realize you have to wait. You read that shit in half an hour. And then you're like, no. And that was kind of my whole childhood, was me screaming no as I realized that I had to wait
that's a shame.
5 more weeks. Yeah.
That's my adulthood every time I find out I have to read another Batman comic for this podcast.
Hey,
not a fan of the Batman.
It's your fault. It's your fault. You let me pick.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get into the issue here a bit. Again, it is Batman Special number 1 from 1984, written by Mike W. Barr, correct, Mike-El? And then drawn by Michael Golden. Now, we've talked about both these creators in the past. Yes. Michael W. Barr was episode 2, The Brave and the Bold.
That's right.
That one. And then Michael Golden, we actually reviewed his first issue that he drew of Batman, right?
Right.
And that was in 1978. And if you recall, Mike-El, we could recognize the talent in him, but this is a little unfinished. This is a little sketchy, this art here.
Yes.
But so here, 6 years later, you can really see how he progressed.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's pretty interesting to see. All right, so Mike-El, why don't you explain? Let's look at the cover here first.
Sure.
Because Mike-El, break down the cover for us.
We've got a cover here of now. Obviously, we'll talk about this later, but this is the first appearance of the Wrath. So we've got Batman staring down a guy that looks kind of like him. He has a similar costume, except on the cover it's brown, but on the interior it's not. We'll talk about that later. But so he basically a guy that looks kind of like him. There's a gun in the middle, and then there's a bullseye, and then we've got Commissioner Gordon, Alfred, and this mysterious woman on the cover. And I also have to point out that I'm not an expert on art, but this is done in a weird way where we've got this background of the city here that's sort of translucent. And apparently, what's that?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Kind of. Maybe it's not translucent. It's just really, like, I actually asked him. I actually met him like 5 times, and I asked him how he did this. And apparently, it's just called a wash. I'm not sure what the process is of how you do that, but that's how he created these types of backgrounds at this time. So it's really cool. It's something that no one else was doing at this time, I think. But so I think it's a really cool cover. No text other than that. It says Batman Special #1, 1984, Batman, right? That's it.
We also have the little special gun of the Wrath in between each of them, kind of dividing.
Right. Yeah.
Strange. Miles, how do you feel about this cover?
I believe that this cover was actually what drew me to buy the comic, because I bought this comic, not my brother.
Oh, okay.
I had some, I did occasionally buy some things that were, kind of useful. And I liked the kind of bookend look almost of the Batman and the Wrath, who incidentally, I've been mispronouncing this in my head for 40 years. I always thought it was
Wraith.
Wraith.
So did I. So did I. Yeah.
And I finally took. When you said, we're going to be doing this. Here's the electronic link. I was like, okay, I'm going to go look at this electronic link. I'm going to read the whole comic today, and I did. And the first thing I see is the Wrath, and I go, what?
Yeah.
It's one thing to mispronounce a song lyric. It's quite another to actually have read this comic probably 100 times and never noticed that his name was Wrath and not Wraith. So, okay,
yep.
Oops. But it's. I was struck by the cover. There's like this sort of evil reverse Batman almost, and he's got that cool cowl that's got those pointy edges to it. That's sort of feral looking, like he's almost like he's got fangs.
Yeah, on the bottom of it. Yeah, there's little teeth, kind of. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's a pretty good cover. Strong cover. I like the cover. All right, Mike-El. So then the book opens up. What's going on? First page. What's going on?
We're introduced to a parallel narrative of the origin of Batman and the origin of Wrath. So we see Thomas and Martha Wayne with Bruce Wayne being mugged by Joe Chill, and then at the bottom of the page we see the secret origin of the Wrath. So it looks like him and his father and mother are burglars.
Yes.
And they're coming out of an apartment. I assume they just burgled, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a cop there who's about to shoot them. And so they're having this little confrontation.
The family that burgles together stays together.
So then we actually...
together.
Yeah. Then we cut to the next page, and we actually get a stunning depiction of Batman's origin here with, the parents being gunned down and the street light with the dead bodies and all that. And the Joe Chill running away. And then at the bottom, we see, again, the parallel origin of Wrath's father taking a shot at the cop shooting back, killing the mother, and then I'm assuming also killing the father. And then that's it. Yeah. So then we, again, this is now 3 pages where we've got a top and a bottom of 2 parallel stories. So then the top is Bruce Wayne, being comforted by Leslie Tompkins and starting his training and seeing the omen of the bat. This is jumping along pretty quickly. And that's something I really liked about this issue, but we'll talk about it later. And then at the bottom, we see the parallel where we see the Wrath is in jail, and then he's, kind of doing his version of the training. We see him with a, what is that called? The target thing, whatever that's called.
Yes.
Whatever it's called. Card. Yeah. And then, and then they show here that he slayed the slayer of his parents.
Until he slayed the slayer.
Oh, wait. Sorry. That's his mission. Is he wants to slay the slayer of his parents. Whereas Batman. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, here's my question, because this whole issue, he's dedicated to kill Commissioner Gordon. So that implies that Commissioner Gordon was the cop that killed his parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
When he was a patrolman. It took me many years to figure out, believe it or not, as many times as I read this, because, you reread these comics all the time when you're growing up. I really didn't put that together that Commissioner Gordon was the guy that killed his parents, or that he blames for killing his parents.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm unsure about. Is he just blaming Gordon because he's like the head of all the cops in the Gotham City, or is he actually the guy who killed his parents?
I think he's the guy that killed his parents.
I think that's what they're implying. The confusing thing is that, Batman's origin has been redone so many times, and over the years they add details. And one of the details they always show is that Commissioner Gordon is the one that comforts Bruce Wayne, right, after the murder happens. So, I mean, that obviously contradicts that version of the origin. But maybe in this one, like as we see at the top, it's Leslie Tompkins. It's not Commissioner Gordon. So, yeah, it could have been him that actually pulled the trigger.
And until he slayed the slayer of his parents, and it shows, James W. Gordon. So I think we can be fairly secure that he's a patrolman, and he was the guy that interrupted the burglary, and he got shot and killed both of them. And it's sort of implied, if you look at the drawings, it's implied that he kills at least one of them by mistake. He shoots the guy that is shooting at him.
Right.
Yeah, but he gets shot. He gets shot while he shoots back. Shot,
and his bullet, kind of just goes through the window and kills the mom. That was clearly not. I mean, what I take away from this is that it's clearly not intentional that he did that. It was just a gunfight. He got hit. His gun went off, and he, unfortunately killed the rat's mom as well as his dad.
Right. I think an easy way to get around this would have been if they would have showed like a little name tag on him saying Gordon or something. You know what I mean?
I was literally looking for that as we were talking, but then I remembered that I looked many times in the past.
Yeah, there's only 2 panels of them, and you cannot see anything like that. But anyway, all right, whatever. Just a little confusing.
But it says the slayer of his parents, and it shows a picture of Gordon. So, I mean, that's as close as definitive as you're going to get, I guess.
But you think at some point, I don't know, Gordon getting shot would be a big deal, right? I mean, it almost looks like that cop dies, too. So, I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that it looks like the cop is shot, in the center of the chest or whatever, but I think ultimately it's like they probably, I'm willing to guess that they did that on purpose to leave just a little bit of ambiguity, because probably they didn't want to go the full length and say, hey, Gordon greased this guy's parents.
Yeah, but anyway.
It makes Gordon a little less sympathetic, even though I feel like they do a good job of explaining that this is, this cop blunders on them in the middle of a burglary. The guy shoots the cop blasts him, and, as he's going down, he fires another round and hits the mom. But ultimately, he did kill the guy's parents and send him on a path to all sorts of horrible things. So if they were ambiguous about it might have been on purpose.
So then we get like 2 straight splash pages, one of Batman in the foreground with like images of his villains dancing around, and that's really good. And then we get one of the Wrath and him causing setting a police car on fire and killing cops. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the title of the issue. Oh, go ahead, Mouse.
He's robbing a diamond store as well.
Oh yeah, because you always got to rob the diamond stores. Yeah. And the title of the issue is "The Player on the Other Side." And Mike-El, notice that we're 5 pages in, but at like different places throughout the first 5 pages, you'll have credits. Like this on the bottom of page 5, you have the writer, and on the bottom of page 4, you have the artist. So it's weird that they did the credits like that, but all right, you don't see that too often.
Yeah, the whole thing is a little bit. I mean, it's definitely. The text is a lot more sparse than we're used to, I think, from this era. So they were probably just experimenting with format. I don't know.
So then, Mike-El, we cut to the Gotham City Police Headquarters, and what's going on there?
So basically, we touch base with. So Jim Gordon is So Jim Gordon is in the middle of being targeted by someone. We don't know who yet. And so he's kind of under lockdown at the headquarters, I guess. And we get it's funny because I think Michael Golden is a great artist, but we get kind of a confusing sequence here where someone's bringing food for Jim Gordon. And then the next page, we see a foot kicking through the door, someone saying, "Get down, both of you," knocks them both down. We see the foot kicking the desk. Then we see what looks like an explosion. And then Jim Gordon's kind of talking. And then we find out, oh, this is Batman. Batman has come in and saved them, but we only know that because of the blue boot, right?
Yeah, it's the Batman. He came to save the day.
Yeah.
But why did he save him though, Mike-El? What did the Batman detect that no one else noticed?
What did he detect? I don't remember. What did he detect? Oh, is that coming up? I don't remember.
Miles, do you remember?
The tray.
Yeah.
The tray, the cop who's bringing Commissioner Gordon
Oh,
food
yes.
is bringing a tray, and the Batman, being the deductive genius that he is, sees that the tray is made of plastic instead of metal from the police cafeteria and believes it to be a bomb, which in fact it is.
Yes.
That's right.
I would have liked it better if he does it. He busts in, he knocks everything over, kicks the desk over, and then it's like, oh, wait, they were just doing dishes. They had to use plastic. Sorry, guys.
Batman doesn't make mistakes like that.
And across the street, we see the Wrath targeting him with his little special gun there, but he's too far away. He's nervous that he won't be able to kill Gordon from that distance. So he doesn't take the shot.
So, and apparently, I think they say somewhere, this is like the second time, right, that he's tried to kill him.
The third, I believe. The first time, well, they get to that in a minute. They'll talk about that in a minute, I guess. All right. So then there's a sharp cut, Mike-El, to like another building, and Commissioner, it's like a safe house that Batman's putting Commissioner Gordon in, and Gordon says, "Amazing! From the street, you'd never know this was here." Really? You wouldn't know a shitty apartment was in a shitty apartment building from the street? Really? Is that? I don't understand why this is so secret.
I don't know. Maybe they're implying it looks like an abandoned building, but there's this apartment that's all furnished up there. I don't really know.
But it's really not all that furnished. It looks pretty terrible. Miles, I mean, the apartments in L.A. are better than this, right?
That kind of looks like a pretty exact reproduction of where I'm sitting right now. But
I was just confused by him you'd never know this was here. Really? All right, whatever. So then, Mike-El, then we get the Batman explaining what's been going on.
Right. So then we find out, yes. So Batman is like, fortunately, no one died in the... So this is not the first time someone's tried to take his life. So fortunately, no one died in the first attempt in your life. I thought Councilman Twos was the target. So we see that Commissioner Gordon was doing like a press conference, and someone took a shot at him, and it actually hit the other guy. And then someone tried to blow up Commissioner Gordon's car.
And that one
funny.
killed some people. That killed some people, Mike-El. You shouldn't be laughing at that. That killed people.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
And it's funny because, like I said, I love Michael Golden's art, but once in a while we'll get an awkward shot. Like the shot at the bottom, this close-up of Commissioner Gordon is a little bit weird. A little bit, but...
It's all right. It's much better than some of the other ones we get later.
Yeah, there's weirder ones coming, definitely. There's definitely weirder ones coming. But anyway. This is cool. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry, but then on the next page, Batman's leaving him in the safe house. And he's like, won't people see you leave? And Batman says, are you serious?
I love it, yes.
Yeah, I like that. But then the next panel we get, did anyone see you come? Are you serious? Like, do we need it twice? And then for a second there, I thought, does that mean like Batman's jerking off? What's going on there? I'm confused.
He's getting a little cocky, I think.
I just don't understand. Are you serious? Does anyone see you come? Are you serious? I don't know. But how do you feel about that, Miles? How do you feel about that?
Well, that's not the Batman arriving. That's the Wrath arriving. They're paralleling.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Look at this.
Thank God you explained that to me because I was very confused.
But two completely different buildings, yeah. I didn't notice that.
I only recently figured out after 35 years. Yeah. When I was a kid, I thought that was kind of like a little joke, like where, Commissioner Gordon saying, won't people see you leave? And Batman's like insulted. He's like, of course they're not, and then, almost Gordon taunting him going, did anyone see you come? And Batman going, are you serious? Over his shoulder. And I thought that's kind of dumb. And then I realized they're paralleling the relationship here is, Batman's leaving. Are you serious? And then, the girlfriend, Grail Hudson, of the Wrath, is saying, did anyone see you come? And the Wrath's like, are you joking? Like, no one sees me come.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank God you explained that. Because Mike-El, when you look at the pictures, yes, you can tell they use color. Like the one building is highlighted red, and then the other one's highlighted green. But it's a little weird the way they did it. But it works. Yeah. Okay.
What's funny is that I've been reviewing a lot of 80s comics lately, and I was complaining about this one issue of Spider-Man where every single panel had a little caption at the top that would say later and then across town. And Here, they left it out, and we were confused.
Yeah, I know.
Me and Mike-DELL were totally confused.
Sometimes those things help.
People complain about that stuff, and then when they take it away, you go, wait, where is it? Where's my stuff that tells me the obvious shit that I should know already?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, even in the previous page where we have the Wrath, like, targeting Gordon and Batman in the office, like, there's just a hard switch to the safe house. So theoretically, you could almost read it as Wrath targeting them in that safe house too. I mean, if you're just reading it quickly, without that little yellow box. But sometimes you need the help. You need the help.
I think it's like that's the one thing I noticed about this is it felt really modern compared to most of the '80s comics we've read. And it's like I think once you're used to it, it's fine. But yeah, if you're going in expecting those little yellow boxes, then yeah, it's going to be confusing.
I would agree. For 1984, this did seem like a more modern book.
Right.
It seemed that. So thank God Miles explained that to me. So all right. Yeah. So yeah, now we see the Wrath with his lady, and I got to say, Miles, this section is very exposition heavy, very, very poorly written. Him and the girlfriend talking. I think this is pretty bad.
Yeah,
but
that was way. I mean, they're trying to get her. They're trying to establish her character in about 2 panels, because she really doesn't have much of she's a very difficult character to write in a book like this, because you're talking about, okay, we already know Gordon, we already know Batman, we already know Alfred, right? So the one character who's really new is the Wrath. And I mean, that Leslie Tompkins character, she just comes out through just action what she is. So she's almost not even really a character. This girlfriend, they devote like 2 panels to give her a motivation. And she's in love with the Wrath. She wants to get out of town with him and for him to quit the life. And she's the daughter of a gang boss, which they have to explain because later she's going to use all those hoodlums to find out where Gordon actually is. And that whole thing is like where she goes, my father was a gang boss. As soon as he walked through the door, I mean, that's really good.
Yes.
But I guess with the restrictions they had, that they couldn't have done much better than that.
Yeah, here's the dialogue in the panel where she first appears. Make it soon, honey. Well, she asked him if he killed Gordon. He says, not yet. Make it soon, honey. My father was a gang boss. He swore he'd get out of the business, get clean, but he died. And then the Wrath says, I know. You hired me to hit the men who killed him, Grail. And then she says, and I know that. What I don't know. that's just terrible. That's really
I mean, really, you could have left all of that out, and really the story would be unaffected, right? Like, it could all just be implied, but
there could have been a lot subtler ways of doing it, but what are you going to do? She knows he wants to kill Gordon, and he's trying to kill Gordon for her and stuff, but they've fallen in love. And she's trying to get him out of the assassination biz. And while they're snuggling and whatnot, what happens, Michael?
Somebody walks in, and it turns out it's one of the help. He just kind of walks in and asks if she needs anything. Then the Wrath freaks out because he doesn't want anyone to see him. So then we get this great reaction shot of her just watching. And then when we cut to the next panel, he's gutted him with a knife. And now this guy is laying dead on the floor.
Yeah, well, he threw the knife. It's tough to tell, but in panel 2, he throws the knife at him. And then in panel 4, he's taking it out of the guy's neck.
Okay, that's what it is. Yeah.
But it is a little confusing to see there. Now, Miles, how do you feel the relationship is if she just watches him murder someone in front of her and she still doesn't really care?
I think it's implied here that she cares, but she's so obsessed with him, so in love with him, and also her father was a gangster, so this isn't the first time she saw somebody get offed, that maybe she knew. You can tell, I actually think in the sense, she's not well written, but her character's behavior is actually very logical for that kind of gangster girlfriend, kind of person, because that's what's up with her. She's all in with the Wrath.
Yeah, apparently he's giving it to her good. She's with the Wrath.
She likes the time that she's spent with the Wrath. And she knows what he is. She's probably upset that, she's obviously upset that this guy got killed, but she ain't leaving him with that.
Yeah, it's not just some stranger. It's her servant, someone who and he just murders him, not even thinking twice. So then we cut to.
She's not the nicest person. I think that's a fair statement. She ain't the nicest person.
And that's what hurts, I think, at the end when we're supposed to empathize with her, and I really don't. But all right, so then we cut to Wayne Manor, Mike-El, in the Batcave. Look at dig the Batcave. Look at the things in the Batcave, Mike-El.
We got the giant dinosaur. We got the Joker card, the giant penny. Right, everything's there.
How did he get that giant dinosaur again?
Oh, I'm sure there's a story that explains it, but I have no idea. I don't remember.
Wait, you're Mr. Batman, and you don't know how he got the big.
Well, but the story was probably from like 1941, so I haven't read all of them, unfortunately.
Oh,
but,
all right, fair enough.
But anyway, so basically, now this to me is a little bit of I wouldn't say a plot hole, but it seems a little bit unlikely because what's happening here now is Batman is explaining what's going on to Alfred, and then he points out that he's like, I don't understand. Wait, what does he say here? I knew I'd meet him someday. So basically he's implying that he knew that a foe like this was coming, right? But then at the end he says, but why now? Why the night of the 26th coming up? And then Alfred thinks, the 26th? As if Alfred doesn't know when his parents were gunned down, right? Like that's a little bit.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
It's that's something that struck me as pretty egregious today when I read this. Even as a kid, I thought that was odd, but when I was reading it today, I said to myself, how is it possible? And then I thought, it isn't possible. They're literally just doing this for the benefit of maybe because it was a Batman special, and they were kind of like trying to do the whole history of Batman and everything. Like, because if you look at it, Batman's whole history is in this comic in a super abbreviated form.
Sure, yeah.
So it's almost like they're telling the story of the Batman over again, and maybe it's almost like they just retcon that for the sake of whatever. It's pretty egregious. Obviously, Alfred was the servant of his parents. He ain't going to fucking forget the day that his two employers that he lived with were blown a bed. And he, in effect, became the father of, like, Bruce Wayne. I mean, you just don't... I forget birthdays sometimes, but I ain't forgetting that,
Yeah. So then, Mike-El, we see the Wrath going and he's trying to talk to one of his little informants on the street there to get info out of him. And I know you guys like the Mike Golden, but I hate to point this out to you, but in the first panel, he drew a left foot on a right leg.
Ooh, I think he's done that before too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the shot of the guy at the bottom middle is pretty rough.
Yeah, we mentioned in the past that it's clear that he influenced Todd McFarlane.
Yes.
And because you see, like, he really, because the first issue we did with Michael Golden, it was, like I said, it was like the first issue I think he ever did in comics. And you could kind of get a glimpse of the Todd McFarlane stuff. But here, the Todd McFarlane comparisons are constant. Like, you can, in the faces, a lot of the faces look like they're made out of putty. They're distorted. So, yeah, you really see his influence on McFarlane.
Yeah.
But so what is the Wrath? Oh, go ahead, Miles.
I was just going to say that the artwork of this isn't as impressive as I remembered as a kid. There are still panels I really, really like. Like I like the bottom right panel of the Wrath being all confused. Yeah,
that's great.
You're right. There is, at the risk of stating something that sounds extremely stupid, more than usual, it's cartoony. Yeah, that panel of the guy looking up, his eyes are very flat. They look almost like the eyes of some kind of fish. They're flat.
And cartoony can be good. It's not a bad thing. It's just, I would say like the first maybe 12
within its own system. Like if you're going to do cartoony, do cartoony consistently through the whole thing.
Yes.
Then you have a style.
Yes.
Style.
Like that's the biggest problem with it. Yeah, because there'll be like realistic panels, and then there'll be a cartoony one, and so it kind of is a little jarring. I would say like the first 12, 14 pages of this are real solid, and then I think the longer it goes, the worse probably the art gets. But
well, the other thing, if you just look at this one page, the couple of faces are cartoony. The Wrath's face is good, but like Mike-DELL said, the shot of the feet are wacky. But then look at the shot of them standing on the street, right? Like that perspective is perfect. So he's obviously good at architecture. He's good at equipment and vehicles, and he's good at design, and he's really good at drawing the Wrath's face. But maybe when it comes to drawing like a normal human He just,
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like. You said it's made out of silly putty. Maybe that's just not his area of expertise.
Yeah, his proportions in anatomy are just screwy, and that's fine. As long as it's your style, whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes it comes across as being like rushed or not.
Right.
Like he didn't, because you can see that sometimes he can draw a good face, and then
Right.
sometimes he doesn't. So it's like, well, just let's get some consistency, I guess.
Sure.
But anyway.
So yeah, so Rath is trying to get some information out of this guy, and he finds out. So this is another kind of funny parallel that this guy also has a routine that he does on the same night every year.
Yeah.
Right? Because what is it? Where is it here? The Batman caught me ripping off a radio a couple years ago. Real dumb of me. Turns out he always goes there once a year, same night every year, June 26th. But yeah, where is it earlier? He says that he does it because it was the anniversary of his old lady or something.
Yeah, he broke up with his old lady.
Oh, that's
he
on the
always
next page, yeah.
He always liked to celebrate by ripping off a car.
Right. Yeah, ridiculous. But So then the Wrath, because he's cooperated with him, he leaves him, and he actually
pays him,
funny?
too.
Yeah, he actually pays him some money here. It's kind of interesting. So then it cuts over to Gotham Public Library.
And let me just point out, he doesn't just pay him some money. He pays him stacks of 20s.
Yeah, like stacks of 20s, right?
Holy hell, Wrath! You could have got that info for like $5.
Yeah, yeah.
He's throwing down hundreds of dollars on this dude. So anyway,
Which I like. I like the scene because it sort of shows like the Wrath kills a number of people in this story casually, and he murders that butler guy, and then he's about to commit another murder in a panel just ahead. But I like the idea that he just pays this scumbag off even though he could kill him. It shows that he's a little more complicated than we might expect. He, like the Batman, he has some layers. Some, within the criminal life, he apparently has some sense of obligation or honor or something. Because he could have just blown this guy's head off or left him alive, regardless. But he didn't have to pay him anything.
or at least stiffed him on the internet. Here's $2. Take it and beat it. But no, hundreds of dollars. All right. So yeah, Mike-El, then the Wrath, this is pre-internet. So he wants to research stuff. He has to go to the library and dig through the archives. And what happens?
So he gets confronted by a security guard, which he then disposes of with looks like a ninja star. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, nothing's cooler in 1984 than ninja stars.
That's right.
Yeah, ninja stars were the shit. I will absolutely 100% swear to that in a court of law. Kids used to actually bring them to school to the point where they had to be expressly banned from the school, not because anyone was getting hurt, but just because it was like the cool thing to bring throwing stars in.
Yeah.
Guys were actually making them. They were in shop class.
Yeah, we used to make them out of like glue in school and stuff. But anyway, you have to speak up, officer. Sounds like you've got something caught in your throat. That's what the rep says. After he puts the ninja star right in his throat. So he murders people and he jokes about it.
Yeah, he doesn't fight. Anybody in uniform, man, he's not okay with that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, anyone in a uniform. So he researches the he researches the 26th because that informant told him that Batman always does something on 26th, and he finds out that oh no, that was when the Waynes were murdered. So he connects the dots. He's able to do this in like 2 minutes because he's Batman's counterpoint. But the Joker, the Penguin, all those guys, they couldn't do this for years. They couldn't figure any of this out. But he does it real quick. So Mike-El, what happens next?
So then Bruce Wayne is chilling with Alfred, and then he gets a phone call, and then we get a really, again, an experimental panel design by Michael Golden, where the outline of the panel is in the shape of like not an explosion, but like a jagged word bubble, right?
Yeah, like a blurb on the front of a cover. Like
right. And so then we cut to, it turns out that someone,
someone vandalized the Wayne's headstone at the cemetery. But Mike-El, we got to talk about this big panel here because we get Bruce Wayne screaming, and then we cut to the cemetery and we see him walking up on the shattered remains of his parents' headstone. But why is he dressed like a park ranger?
And that's he actually changed. You're right. He took the time to change, and now he's like a park ranger. That's a good point.
Yeah, he's wearing these brown slacks and like an orangish brown shirt with epaulets and all sorts of pockets everywhere. It's like, what is going on? I don't understand.
And then the guy in the background looks like he's from like the 30s, eh? He's got like an old suit on and like a walking stick. It's kind of odd.
Yeah, a pinstripe suit, a flower in his lapel.
Right.
And Bruce Wayne just grabs him, starts shaking him. Who did this? Who did this? Maybe it was Yogi Bear. I don't know. But
so
I'm sorry, Michael. But on the shattered headstone, it says, "Give me CG."
Right.
I guess Commissioner Gordon. I guess
you
that's
got it.
So go ahead, Michael.
So now Bruce Wayne is on the prowl, right? So he knows what's going on, and he's like, Alfred, get out of there now. My enemy, my opposite number, knows who I am. And so then it cuts to we see like the shadow cast over Alfred. Yeah. And Alfred. So now no one's there. So now things. The action heats up. So basically, now we cut to a news report that Jim Gordon is watching, where we find out that Alfred has been kidnapped.
Yep.
And so we get a great shot of Jim Gordon opening up the blinds in that apartment with his finger. That's so cool, eh?
That is a good shot. Yeah.
Yep. And then we cut over to this is back to the girlfriend now, and he's got a bunch of Miami Vice toughs with her.
And if someone were to come up to me and say, "Hey, Todd McFarlane drew this page," I'd be like, "Yep, I believe it."
Yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty well drawn, but again, this is one of the things I liked about Todd McFarlane and Michael Golden is they're really exaggerated, right? Like contorted, exaggerated body parts, and one's got a big head, one's got a small head. I think that's kind of cool.
But that bottom right panel of that the lady there, that is strictly Todd. That looks so much like Todd McFarlane. It's amazing.
Great, yeah, 100%.
Anyway.
Yeah. So hold on a sec here. So So he's the reason she's talking to them is because she's got a hit out on Gordon, right?
Yeah, she's giving him a bunch of money. She wants info about where Gordon is because they can't find Gordon. So she's paying all these like bums and derelicts. Like, here's your money. Now I need info. So go get me info. And then we see Gordon in the hospital, and he's not doing so well. And then we see a cut to a bar where someone else. Alfred. I'm sorry. Yeah. Alfred's in the hospital, not doing well. So then we cut to another bar where someone else is looking for info. Mike-El.
Yes, we see some random guy with a beard and glasses and a red hat.
He looks like Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Batman,
yeah.
Batman disguised himself as Steven Spielberg.
And then basically, so he gets this old man to start talking. He's like feeding him drinks, and the guy's like, what does he say here? And all because Jack Hudson's daughter paying cash to find Gordon. Hey, let me buy you one, bud. Bud? Turns around and the guy's gone. So it implies that guy in the beard was actually Bruce Wayne, right?
Yeah, in his big disguise.
Right. So
he had to rush off and direct Temple of Doom.
Yeah, exactly.
He had to get out of there quick.
So then it cuts to the next page, and we got a really cool scene coming up. So then Batman is now in the Rath's apartment, and the girlfriend comes home and turns around and sees his shadow, and then we see this awesome freaking shot of the Batman coming out of the shadow. I was like, is this not amazing?
Mike-El loves it. Miles, how do you feel about this?
I actually think this is excellent because first, we've established that the Wrath and the Batman dress, in silhouette, they're basically the same. So she thinks her boyfriend has come home. She's so happy. She blurts out some info, and then boom, 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 it's the Batman. And
three panels.
He strides purposefully into the light, and he also makes an admission that he would kind of like to put down his gun, so to speak, that he doesn't carry, and run off probably with some babe to some island. But he's driven by this obsession exactly the way the Wrath is. Neither man can relent until they have achieved their object.
Yeah. And then how does he subdue the lady, Miles? What does he do?
It appears that he uses a Vulcan...
That's exactly right. The Vulcan nerve pinch.
Because she's running away in her very 80s leather, extremely tight leather pants and ultra short leather jacket, which is extremely 80s, although I'd be okay for that fashion to come back.
I'd be okay for the Vulcan nerve pinch to come back. We need more Vulcan
I've been finding it for years. I haven't found it yet. And then, of course, he carries her gently to the couch because she's the Batman and he's not going to let her fall on the floor. But yes, he does subdue her using his apparently the technique he reserves for people he doesn't want to beat the shit out of.
Yeah. So at first I thought he just cracked her in the back of the head, and I'm like, oh, no. He does the Vulcan nerve pinch. That's what you do with the ladies.
Yeah, you have to look closely to see his hand. I did the same thing. I didn't originally. I thought he just laid her out, like, bam,
Yep.
Like he does that cop when he saves Gordon. He knocks that cop down, and it looks like he knocks him out, just getting him out of the way. So I thought he did the same to her, but I guess they wanted him to be nicer to the lady.
And in the apartment, he's looking around. He looks over on the little coffee table there, and he sees a map. And there's an area circled in red. It's Crime Alley, the same place where his parents were murdered.
How convenient, eh?
What happens then, Mike-El?
So then we cut. Now this is kind of a little bit strange again. So we cut to Crime Alley, and we see Leslie Tompkins standing there. And from the conversation, it's implied that she thinks she's talking to Batman because in the silhouette, again, it does look like Batman. But then, she realizes, wait a minute, you aren't the Batman. And then he's like, no, ma'am. And so, of course, it's the Wrath. And he's got his gun in its holster, right?
Yep.
And he's just about to act. But then we cut back to Batman, who's now at the exact scene of his parents' murder. And he finds another clue. And it's a piece of paper that says, Batman, bring go. Which, I mean, I'm assuming that means Gordon, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because he pinned it with a knife into the purse of Leslie Tompkins, and he's like, I got Leslie Tompkins. So
right. So then we cut over to Jim Gordon, and again, this is actually a great shot of him smoking his pipe. It looks really cool.
Yep, it's a good shot.
Yep. So then basically it's like, okay, well, you're gonna have to come with me. We're gonna have to figure this out. And so again, I actually like how it zips along really quickly. There's no explanation. They're just cutting from scene to scene. So then they cut to the next scene, and Batman and Commissioner Gordon are at the bottom of this building, and Wrath and Leslie Tompkins are at the top, and Wrath has got this gun to her head. And so they've got to climb up to the top, and the Wrath orders Batman to handcuff himself to this, whatever it is, this antenna here.
Yeah, on the roof, yep.
Yeah, on the roof. So yeah, they're all up on the roof now. And basically, Gordon... well, so what is it here? He's like, oh, you won't be on the side of the grave much longer, Batman. But first, Gordon. So then he points the gun at Gordon. Gordon's like, do you expect me to beg? I never have. And then we cut back to the girl briefly. Then we cut back to the rooftop. And then Wrath unloads his gun on Gordon. And we see that he gets shot twice. And there's blood coming out. So, he's dead, right?
Yeah.
And so then, again, cutting back to the girl waking up from the couch. Yeah. And so then Wrath is like, it's over. It's like we've got like parallel sequences going on. So the Wrath is in the middle, and these other things are going on the side. It's kind of cool.
I like that page design. Yep.
It's great. Yeah, it's great. And then Commissioner Gordon is falling out of the panel, which again at the time was an unusual technique. It's kind of cool. So now Commissioner Gordon is dead. So now the Wrath is like, it's over, mother and father at last, right? So mission is over. The guy that killed his parents, and we get this freaking amazing shot of Batman. I knew it.
That is a good shot, but I don't know if we need the "I knew it."
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. You're right. They could have trimmed some of that out. But then it's like, he pulls the gun on Batman. But then Gordon comes out. Oh, Gordon is alive, right? And then of course Batman's thought bubbles explain that this was all planned out. Right, that he's like, he was supposed to stay out of it. I could have dodged the shot. I mean, obviously, you could dodge bullets. He's Batman, right?
Yes, I could have easily dodged the bullet with my hands handcuffed behind me.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. So then they get into a fight, and then and now Gordon's down again, and so then basically Batman and Wrath have a fist fight, which of course.
Yeah, let's bring Miles in on this because Miles writes a lot of fight scenes. He's known for his fight scenes. His novels Cage Life and Knuckle Down are about MMA fighting. So Miles, take us through. What do you think of this big fist fight here between the Wrath and Batman?
I enjoy this fight quite a bit because I like that, because it's even, and that's the thing is that the Batman realizes, I think very quickly, that he's not fighting the normal guy that he can just beat the shit out of. And he's also not fighting a guy that, like there's that scene in the next panel or the next page where he smashes the Wrath's face into the wall.
Yeah.
after hitting him, and
with the back fist.
He gets him
with the back
ribs.
fist. Bang.
Yeah. He flips a punch. He hits him in the ribs with an elbow, or wherever that is, and then smashes his head.
I'm glad you mentioned wherever that is, because that's a problem. I have no idea where he's elbowing him.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's happening. But anyway.
It looks like that's his whole... It could be his ass for all I know. I don't.
Yeah, it's supposed to be his lower back, I guess, but it's weird. All right.
Yeah, that's actually not drawn in any way that you could see it. But the thing is after he backfists the rat's head into the wall, but then no sooner as he does that, then the rat basically kicks him in a horrible place, like it's kind of like back of his knee / top of his calf. Right. Pushing his knee sideways, almost like the John Jones kick that he does, the oblique kick to his knee, but in reverse. And then he elbows him in the mouth.
But here's the problem with this elbow in the mouth. His hand is still flat against the door. Like, look at the first panel. His hands are flat against the door. The second panel, his hands are still flat against the door. But somehow the elbow goes flying into Batman's face. I don't understand.
Maybe Batman collapsed upon his elbow. I don't know.
I guess.
You're right. That is funny. I never know that before.
Yeah.
He's doing two things at once. And then as he rolls away, the Batman comes to the horrible realization that not only are they equally matched in their obsession and their skill, but that he realizes the only way to beat this guy is to kill him, which is something the Batman doesn't do. He doesn't kill people. So to me, that was a cool moment in the story. And then the Wrath does a little bit of mind reading here, and
more ninja stars.
He's coming to that conclusion that I'm going to have to kill this guy, and then the Wrath is basically saying, your disadvantage is you're trying not to kill me, you're just trying to beat me, but I'm trying to kill you, sort of thing. It's highlighting the difference between them, which is the fundamental difference, which is the way they, treat life.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same dynamic you have whenever the Punisher and Daredevil get together. You have that same kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's excellent. Is that one guy is, more or less deliberately killing, well, not more or less, killing people because that's what he does, and the other is going to enormous lengths not to kill people.
And then I like how... And then we get Commissioner Gordon down on the street because he took Leslie Tompkins downstairs, and we get the reveal, Mike-El, that he was wearing a bulletproof vest packed with blood capsules.
That's right.
So
fooled again. Yep.
Fooled again.
Yep.
But here's what I got to say. That first of all, that Batman Gordon plan of just walking up on the roof like that, that was a terrible plan. Because what if the Wrath just does a headshot and takes out Gordon?
I know. Well, that's always like any of these.
If he had done that, like
that would have been hilarious.
Shot, and the Batman just goes, "Fuck!"
Yeah.
And the story ends, and we never see another panel.
Never counted on that happening. Boom, a headshot. Yeah, I don't know. Well, what are you going to do? So they're still fighting upstairs there up on the top of the roof. And Gordon's like, feel free to shoot whatever. And the cops are like, but which one's Batman? Well, maybe the one that's colored purple and red. I don't know.
I know. I thought about that too.
Yeah, Mike-El, we should mention in the interior of the book, the Wrath is colored purple and red. Like he looks like Magneto, like that kind of color scheme. But on the cover, he was kind of brownish. Is there a reason for that, Mike-El?
You know what? I don't know the reason for that, but I will say I discovered something about a year or two ago that blew my mind. Apparently, I'm not sure about 1980s, but in the 60s, the colors of the costumes were not decided by the creators. They were randomly picked by the person coloring the comic that issue.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. One of the veterans mentioned that. And basically was like, yeah, I kind of thought they would make his costume blue, but then when the issue came out, he was green. And apparently, who knows, right? Maybe the colorist just decided, well, I got to make him look different from Batman, so I'll make him pink and red or whatever this is, purple and red, So I don't know. As far as the cover being different, I have no idea.
All right, interesting. So the Wrath's girlfriend shows up at the scene because she woke up from the Vulcan nerve pinch, and so she shows up, and then we go back to the top of the roof, and Batman and the Wrath are still fighting. And then Batman says, uh-oh, he's pulling something from beneath his cape. But whatever it is, And then the next panel, it looks like he's pulling a vibrator out from under his
Yeah, that's probably what it was. Yeah,
That's very strange.
Well, that would confuse the Batman.
Yeah, obviously. And then Batman says he'll be less anxious to use it in close quarters. What he meant to say would be less eager to use it in close quarters. Anxious, yeah, it means he'd be nervous to use it in close. It's very strange, but I get what he's trying to say. But anyway, that wasn't a vibrator, Miles. It was an incendiary bomb. Yeah, it sets the roof on fire. Look out! Yeah. So then the Wrath.
He's not putting it in. He has a utility belt just like the Batman, except it's full of deadly crap.
That's a good point. Sex toys and fire bombs. And he puts the Batman in like a rear naked choke kind of, and then he stabs him. He shivs him right in the side. Ugh. How about that?
Which I really like this scene too, because both men are constantly, whenever they get hit, they react with something offensive throughout the fight. It's like he throws the bomb at Batman. Like Batman breaks his ribs, he throws the bomb at Batman. Batman turns, he gets put in a choke, stab. Batman then throws him into the fire. Like it's the whole fight is like that. They keep trying to like one up each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Batman flips him over his head, and he doesn't mean to, but he throws him right into the fire, and the Wrath catches fire, and he's dangling from the roof while he's on fire. Oh my goodness, Mike-El, this is so dramatic.
It is.
Yeah.
Batman's pulling a knife out of his body.
Yeah, and he goes to reach to help the Wrath, but he can't see. He's like, grab my hand, but he can't, and the Wrath falls. Yeah. Falls to his death. Oh, no. So sad. And the girlfriend's all... Yeah, he's on fire, too. That's what makes it even better. So the girlfriend's all distraught. She sees his dead, burning corpse on the street. Then what? How does it wrap up here, Mike-El?
So basically then... so then Leslie Tompkins comes back, and they start chatting. And again, this is a little bit confusing because I don't know what Leslie Tompkins knows and what she doesn't. But, you never told me the reason you came to visit me on this day, and then blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And then so then basically then the girlfriend comes in, and Leslie Tompkins sees, someone else that needs, her sympathy, that she's going to help out. And so basically she just gives her a hug and tells her it's going to be okay and blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, it just says June 26th, midnight, and then that's the end of the story.
Yeah, so the same way this Tompkins lady comforted Bruce Wayne when he was a child, she's now comforting the girlfriend of the Wrath. Never mind that this girlfriend is a crime boss's daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
And watch the Wrath slaughter her own servant without, really caring. But yeah.
Well, she's a product of her environment, Judge McJudge.
Yes, that's
just
true.
Like the Batman is. See, I think if there's one thing this story tells, it's the idea that environment is what creates people. In the opinion of DC Comics, because you've got the Batman is created by the murder of his parents. The Wrath is created by the killing of his parents, and this chick is created by being a crime boss's daughter. That's why she's amoral, and she wants to leave her life of violence, but she's attracted to this incredibly violent man, and who, incidentally, she did hire to kill someone. So
yes,
so she's a failed criminal in herself. She has just enough conscience to be miserable about the fact that she's basically a crook.
Yeah, so there it is, Batman Special number 1 from 1984. Now, I mentioned we discussed these creators before on the show, so we really don't have to go through all that again. But I just want to mention that Mike W. Barr, he wrote 5 issues of Batman, 2 annuals, and this special through the years 1980 and 1985. And I guess, Mike-El, this was originally intended to be annual number 9, but they didn't have it done in time, so they shelved it and kept working on it. So that's why they released it as a special.
Really interesting. Okay,
I believe so.
I don't know why they didn't just wait another year and just release it the next year. But.
Annual number. I guess maybe they already had an idea for annual 10. I don't know. He wrote 32 issues of and 2 annuals of Batman and the Outsiders from 83 to 86. And he did 20 issues of Detective Comics from 74 to 87, so that was also Batman related. Yep. He wrote some of his scripts were turned into Batman the Animated Series plots, and he also wrote for every incarnation of Star Trek, like all 4 of them. Like
That's right, yeah.
Star Trek, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and whatever the hell the other one is.
Mm.
So,
wow.
Just Voyager, right?
Oh yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Anything else about this particular issue, Mike-El, that you know? Any other?
The only thing I can say is that even though the Wrath does die in this issue, another Wrath appears in 2008 in Batman Confidential. So I'm just kind of glad that they brought the character back, because I think it's a pretty cool character.
Is it the Wrath's kid who now became the Wrath because Batman killed his daddy?
You know what? I have no idea. I haven't read it, but now that I've read this issue again, I'm looking forward to tracking those issues down. Yeah. So I'll let you know.
All right. Well, Miles Watson, any final thoughts on this issue? What'd you think?
I just that I really enjoyed visiting it, and I'm very glad that I always wondered why they allowed a character as interesting as the Wrath to be a one-off, because normally, if one thing comic series are notorious for, it's when they come up with a cool character that they kill off, like, Venom would be the most obvious example.
Yeah, just kill him off in one issue.
They're like, you know what? Never mind. He's too cool to kill off. And then they bring him back over and over again until it just becomes another character in the universe. I'm kind of glad they didn't do that with the Wrath, but I'm also glad that eventually someone else took up his mantle, because it's a really cool idea.
I agree, Miles. That's what impressed me most about this issue is the premise of it. I really like the Wrath as a character. And like you said, he's complex. I wish I had more time with the Wrath, because there's something about him. Like, he's paying off that informant, but he's murdering everybody else. So there is complexity that I would like to have gotten more into. But yeah, we're robbed of that because he dies in just one issue. So it's a shame.
And that's a leave him wanting more is one of the oldest obvious tricks in the book for entertainment. And I felt like I was extremely hungry to see more of the Wrath as a kid after that, because I was like, this guy's so interesting. If he had killed that informant, the character would have been much less interesting.
Yes,
but that scene alone establishes that he is not just this murder machine that's just going around exterminating everyone, and that that he actually has some notion of honor among sort of an honor among thieves kind of thing. Like, he's got his own ideas of how he should behave. I think
DC could easily do like a Wrath limited series or even an ongoing series where just his early adventures, they could.
Well, I gotta say, you pointed out the comparison to Daredevil and Punisher. Yeah, to me, the Wrath could be brought back as a Punisher-esque character that maybe eventually becomes not a hero, but like an anti-hero. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, because he is a cool character. I don't know why they just abandoned him.
Right.
Anyway. All right.
There's something to be said, honestly, for killing off an interesting character every now and then. Leave the audience a little hungry instead of beating it to death.
I suppose. So, Miles Watson, we always rate these comics 1 out of 10. Well, you picked this, so obviously you like it. But now that you've read it as an adult, maybe not as... What would you give it, 1 out of 10?
10 being the highest, I'd give it an 8.5.
Whoa, 8.5. Look at that.
I think it's very good. As an adult, you see some of the flaws in the storytelling and some of the limitations of obviously what they tried to do. The more ambitious your idea, sometimes the worse it fails if you're in a limited format. And comic books are pretty brutal in terms of how limited they are with space and everything. But ultimately, I think this is a really cool story. And if you read, there was an essay at the end of it, which isn't included in the online version of the comic, but
okay.
There's an essay written about the Ellery Queen essay, that was the player on the other side.
Okay.
And that's a famous fiction. It's a famous piece of fiction that was used. It's been used a lot in like the John le Carre sort of spy motif. The idea of the opposite number. That's very famous in fiction now, the opposite number. So they have an essay explaining that, and I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, we missed out on that reading the online version. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. I really like the premise. I thought Michael Golden's art was strong early, and it got really bad late. The writing by Michael W. Barr was pretty painful at times, especially that exposition with the girlfriend in Wrath. But I really like the premise. I think the biggest problem here is that Wrath is a bigger character than this just one issue. Like the story needed more room to breathe, They should have really been like a limited series or something. But it's still interesting.
Did they do those? I mean, really?
Well,
For the special, I guess the special was a unique thing at that time. So
yeah, because it's a little bigger than a normal issue. I think it was like 40 pages or something, but it still wasn't really enough to. We needed more wrath. The story needed more room to breathe, I would say. But
that's sort of what I was getting at earlier. You put it better, but it's the constraints of this is an epic story, sort of told in. Let me put it this way: it's like instead of a miniseries, this is like a 90-minute episode of TV that probably could have been a 5-part miniseries.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree. Mike-El, we know you love it, but what are you giving it?
I'm going to give it an 8. I think like if this came out today, it wouldn't be as significant. But again, we have to remember in 1984, comics were not like this. Like just the storytelling, I think was more advanced than it was in most comics in 1984. And as I've said before, I think the art is incredible. Michael Golden was one of the best artists working at that time. However, I will admit that some panels and pages seem sloppy. So I can't give it a 10, but I'll give it an 8. The story was definitely good. Again, weaknesses in the storytelling as well there, but still overall a good story. So I'll give the whole thing an 8.
You got to at least take 2 points. You got to at least take 2 points off for the Ranger outfit, the Forest Ranger outfit.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
That was atrocious.
Pretty bad. Whoever colored that is largely complained. But I would say that the artwork is not as good as I remembered it. It's not as crisp, as literal as it's much more stylized and inconsistent than I remember it as a kid. And that probably is partially just, false memory of all the time passing, but it's also kind of a comment on how crappy some of the artwork was back then.
Yeah.
There were a lot of comics that were just drawn really, really badly, poorly executed.
Well, again, I think the first 5 pages of this are really, really well done art-wise, like really strong. But yeah, the fight scene at the end, that was, I don't know, it was pretty poorly done.
It's weird. It's hard to, it's like the impression I get from Michael Golden, because I've interviewed him a couple times, and the impression I get is he doesn't care about comics.
Yep.
Okay. He did not read comics when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And so, but I think he's so talented that it's almost like he draws good things by accident. And once in a while, he'll just be like, well, I don't give a shit anyway, so I'm just going to fill in this panel, right? So I think there's times where he's just kind of like, it's almost like, it's like he doesn't care if it's pretty. He's just going to get that one panel out just to tell the story, right? I think that's why there's so many inconsistent parts.
I think he's because he did a lot of commercial art and stuff throughout his career. And I think when he gets one, like that cover image, or if he gets one panel he's really dedicated to, he draws it perfectly. It looks great. But in terms of sequential storytelling from panel to panel and like telling a fight scene like that, he just doesn't really care. But if he gets that one image in his mind that he wants to draw, it's great.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
That's an interesting summary of it, because that's kind of what I'm getting from this too, is like it reminded me a little bit of Stephen King's book From a Buick 8, which I read and I was kind of like, was he asleep when he wrote half his fucking book? Is so badly written. But then when he'll wake up and it's like, holy shit, he's hitting his stride. He's doing like fucking amazing work, and he's just laying it down, and like page after page of this lyrical kind of like really insightful writing about, the nature of life and death and obligation and mystery and all this, and then kind of going back to sleep and then falling into these, stupid cliches and just like, and sometimes you just wonder, it's like, does a guy get to a point where he's got 3 things he has to say, but they're making him say 10?
Yeah.
So, well, he's going to say those 3 things that he wanted, and then he's going to just half-ass the rest of it. And that's kind of it was exactly like From a Buick 8 as far as the artwork was concerned. Is like that panel where the Wraith looks up, at one point it's like it's such a good picture, and then you look at some of the other pictures of like people's faces and stuff, and you're like, oh my god, what was he like? Did he just sketch this in like 10 seconds and just didn't give a shit? And
right.
He's looking at his watch. He's on deadline. It's like he went ahead sketched the panels he most wanted to, and then went back and like, fuck, I've got an hour to do.
But it was really cool to see how his art progressed from that first issue we did, Mike-El, because even the sloppy stuff here is head and shoulders better than the other stuff in the other book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so absolutely.
And you can definitely see the McFarlane Art Adams influence here on those younger artists.
Yep.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get out of here, well, first, Mike-El, what are we doing next week?
You'll be happy to know we are doing another DC comic.
What the fuck?
Yeah. We're doing Swamp Thing number 24 by Alan Moore. Yep.
I've never read any Swamp Thing.
Get out of town, really.
Oh, Miles.
Pretty dark.
Oh, you've read Swamp Thing, Miles?
I imagine, I don't know, 6, 7, 10 copies we had lying around. We weren't Swamp Thing fans exactly, because to me, honestly, the storylines were too depressing. When I was a kid, I was like, this is just awful.
Not enough punching. I want punching in my comic books. That's what I want.
He got screwed, man. There's some people like the Thing turned into a big rock or whatever that they really got fucked in comics. But the Swamp Thing, he gets hosed. He gets a shit deal. Like,
all right,
he gets a shit deal, man. The Hulk has it good compared to him.
I'm actually looking forward to this then, Mike-El, because I know nothing about Swamp Thing. So
great. Perfect.
We'll get into that next week. What issue did you say, Mike-El?
It's number 24.
All right, 24 Swamp Thing. So Miles Watson, thank you so much for joining us. Let's remind everybody to go to 19books.com or just search for Miles on Amazon. Get his books Cage Life, Knuckle Down, Sinner's Cross. Sinner's Cross is a World War II book. Hey, Miles, I saw 1917 is getting all kind of Oscar buzz. That's a World War I movie. Maybe that sets the table for Sinner's Cross. What do you think?
I saw 1917. I was very impressed, which is rare for me in war movies. So I maybe it's a harbinger of non-crappy films to come.
Hey, Miles, maybe we'll get you back on at some point when we talk G.I. Joe. How about that?
Dude, I have so many alternate ideas for it that would be hard for me to pick just one. But yes,
yeah,
there's quite a few comics from that made deep impressions on me to this day.
Right. Yeah, sounds awesome.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to talk G.I. Joe or whatever you'd be interested in talking about.
All right, Mike-El.
All right, that wraps it up then. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining us at Flea Market Fantasy. Like we said, every week we review a different Bronze Age pick. That's 1970s and 1980s picks. So until next Tuesday, this has been Flea Market Fantasy. See you next time.